this panel discussion is going to be about the practical strategies of the climate fight, or the road to success and the fight for survival. And unfortunately, one of my colleagues couldn't join. He's from the Eco-Socialist Initiative class that's based in Slovenia. Some of us are also part of this Eco-Socialist Initiative. They have been involved in worker struggles and try to connect them with climate movement as well. And just recently they organized a manifestation for more accessible, just and better public transport in Maribor, one of the cities of Slovenia, the second biggest one. We also have with us a representative of the ex-GKN struggle, Flavia Brunetti, who I'm going to give the floor afterwards to present herself. And here you also already met Sinan, who had the lecture before, and we also have a colleague from ELISET, platform for socio-ecological transformation, Nikolaus. Yeah, thank you. Sorry. Yeah. So essentially, I really tried not to butcher your name, but it comes like this sometimes. Okay, so let's get back to the debates. I'm going to give you the floor a bit to introduce yourself, and especially in the picture of strategies and fight for survival and all the other parts. And I think I'm going to give the floor to Flavia first. So Flavia, do you want to introduce yourself quickly?
Hello, good afternoon, and thank you for inviting me to this very interesting panel. I'm Flavia from the Solidarity Group of the GKN struggle in Florence, in Italy. Can you hear me, first of all?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, perfect. So today I'm going to talk to you about the ongoing dispute at the former GKN factory in Campo, which is at the outskirts of Florence. As you know, as you invited us for this, I think you will know that this case has become a symbol of resistance against industrial closures, against delocalizations, and against real estate speculation in Italy. But to give you a bit of context, GKN was is still a major automotive part manufacturer, and in July 2021, that is 4 years ago, the company abruptly announced the closure of the Florence plant via email, putting 400 workers out of a job. And instead of accepting this shutdown, the workers reacted immediately. They went to the factory, and against the will of the private security that had been hired by the ownership, they declared permanent assembly at the plant, so like a picket line. And they didn't just protest against the layoffs, they started to organize. And the Collettiva di Fabbrica, which is the organizations of the workers in the plant, even proposed an ambitious plan to reindustrialize the site by themselves through a workers' cooperative. And this plan focuses on green manufacturing, on e-bikes, cargo bikes, and solar panels. And now going fast forward to the last month, so June 2025, there have been two major developments at the GKN factory, which brought it back into the spotlight. So the attack on the SGKN plant picket line, which has been going on for 4 years, has now begun. Last week, two newspapers reported that the bankruptcy court in Florence has ordered the eviction of the permanent picket line of the Collettiva di Fabbrica GKN plant. And this eviction is expected to happen soon, so it's only being justified by the legal and financial grounds, so to pay back the creditors, among which we also have the workers, because they haven't been paid for their wages and contributions for a really long time. And the eviction seems to fully align with the plans of the new ownership of the building, which is a real estate company. So beyond these technicalities, it's unacceptable to treat social protest as a matter of public order, and the collective is going on with picket line, and they're going on until possible, and if possible, until they will reopen the factory and own back their wages, the permits, the contributions that haven't been paid for a lot of years. In addition, it doesn't come as a coincidence that there's attack on the picket line is happening as they approach the final steps of creating a public industrial consortium in the factory, which would allow the municipalities, which is the comune we have in Italy, and the Tuscan region to commit inside the factory and to start a partly public industrial line, which is going to be pretty concrete, and many of these municipalities are adhering lately. So it doesn't come as a coincidence that this attack on the picket line really comes right now. So what's really at stake here is not the factory, it's whether we have political and legal tools to protect the productive work from being replaced by this speculative real estate big companies. And this case has implications for many European industrial sites where now and in the future digitalization will happen and workers will try to organize to create green and democratic alternatives. So, sorry it was too long with this introduction. Thank you very much for inviting us, and I'm waiting for your presentations and the questions. Thank you.
Thanks to you. Actually, you already kind of answered to my first question, so we're not going to go to that one afterwards, but thanks for the presentation, it was really good. We also had a speaker before you, Lorenzo Peltrin, who you may know. He also kind of just nudged in your direction, tried to just give us a description quick of your struggle, but I think it's really great to hear from you as well. Should we go to you, Nico? Yeah, great.
Okay.
You have to turn it on. Sorry.
Hello, my name is Nicolas Černík. I'm working at an NGO called Reset, platform for socio-ecological transformation, which is based in Czech Republic. And as you can hear already from the name, what we are working on is, let's say, new economy that fulfills the basic needs of folks, of people, and also does not harm environment. And so what we are doing in practical terms, and what might be related to the debate today, is there are several branches of our activities, let's say. One is working on solidarity economy, on promoting the idea, connecting the actors who are already working in the field, be it small social enterprises, be it trade unions also, be it cooperatives, and basically trying to connect the actors and finding a way how they can help each other to sustain and foster their activities. The other branch is rather directed towards climate and energy, let's say. One part of this big group is working on a campaign on financing of fossil industry, mainly working on campaigns against insurance companies that are still financing and insuring the fossil fuel companies. And what me personally I'm working on is a model that we are trying to establish a grassroots community energy initiative that would allow people, also vulnerable people who are vulnerable to energy poverty, to take part and to benefit from renewable energy owned collectively. And and other part of what Reset is working on is the support of social movements, basically helping to transfer the knowledge they need and finding resources for their further work. And lastly, I would mention that we work also on the issue of housing. We are people from Reset were actively helping organizers from Tenants Initiative, and also there is a strong collaboration with the network called Shared Houses, which is promoting and networking projects of collectively owned houses, cooperatively owned houses. And I will be mostly talking about my personal experience today of organizing this energy initiative and also living in one of such houses in one of the poorest regions in the Czech Republic, which is also coal mining region and close to the German border. That was long already, no?
It was perfect. It was perfect. Yeah. I can't wait to hear your experiences. Yeah. Do you want to say something as well, Sina? I know we already had a chance to talk, but go ahead.
Yeah, hi. So yeah, I'm Sinan. I am a precarious worker and separately a climate justice activist in a group called Klimaximo. It's based in Portugal. So I have been doing stuff broadly since 2000 and since 20 years. I was doing like student, I don't know what it is, it's something called student movement. I never understand what it means, but I was part of it for 10 years. I was doing something that in Turkey we would call it anti-Islamist or secularist, but I think in Europe we call this pro-democracy somehow. Okay, so I was also involved in that kind of stuff. Then I went to Portugal, so I'm originally from Turkey. I went to Portugal and then there was austerity, so there was an anti-austerity movement for maybe 5 years, and I was also part of that to some extent. And I'm doing climate-related stuff since I heard about it in 2007, both in Turkey and in Portugal. In Portugal for 10 years, I am in a group called Klimaximo, and I think that is why I'm here in this particular panel, as opposed to the previous one. And what I'm bringing is this very strange thing that we did everything for a climate movement perspective. Because we are, we were formed in a void. So we are the group who does the climate marches. We are the group that did the climate jobs campaign. So work with unions. We are the group that did direct action. We are the group that did city blockade. We are the group that did frontline against oil and gas projects. We cancelled all of them in a process of 5 years, or like 15 of them. We did climate camps, if some of you might know about this concept. We also organized a lot of conferences, national and international conferences, all those like movement conferences and so on. And we also held a lot of the coordination spaces, so networking coordination spaces. More recently, we have also been doing this public disruption, symbolic action kind of stuff, together with, coupled with some sort of a bit more high profile, not high profile, a bit more directed at the responsible, some sort of low profile disruption and direct action, and also low profile property damage and so on. So basically, I'm bringing all of this. I don't know which part of it will be relevant from here on, but yeah, so I think this is it.
Well, thanks. I think all of your experiences are going to be relevant, because this is exactly why we did this panel discussion. We were thinking about practical strategies, either to win or how to fight for survival, and we were thinking, okay, let's see what's something that's out there, and let's get someone from the climate movement that has a lot of experience and already thought about the strategy a lot. Let's get someone from the community building part, that has a lot of experience in energy, housing, and let's get someone from the industrial organizing part. That's really a good example of what alternative practical strategy there is. We wanted to get, just a disclaimer again, we wanted to get someone from the Communist Party of Graz that won the election, municipal elections there, but they unfortunately couldn't come, so we wanted to cover that part of the spectrum as well. But yeah, thanks to everyone who came. We can go now to the questions that we were preparing for you. And so we're thinking about more like having a discussion of what works, what doesn't work, and to just like put in perspective your experiences. And maybe if I give the word to Sinan now, we'll go in the other direction. I was reading one of your articles, I'm not sure which one was it already, but you described in one of them how breakthroughs can only be possible through if the struggle evolves from a pure fight for survival to strategic transformation and of existing social and environmental relations. And I was thinking that maybe if you could describe a concrete situation where you actually managed to move beyond the purely defensive stance that can be sometimes present in the climate movement, and maybe if you can you talk about a bit about the strategically planned next steps for a broader social breakthrough? Do you have any thoughts on that, or maybe which tactics as well proved crucial in this context?
So I'm also don't know which article it is. I don't think I ever used the word breakthrough because I actually don't know exactly what it means. So I think what I might say is that we have to take risks. And when I say, of course we're always taking risks, like not doing anything. This is the entire context in which life is very risky environment. But when I say we have to take risks, what I want to say is that we have to be very intentional and very propositional and intentional and attentive about what that risk is and what it means for us. So I think interesting stuff that we did throughout this process is always, what was it, the concrete analysis of concrete situation? I don't know what to say. So basically look at reality. And by reality, I don't mean policy. I mean actual power relations in a given context. And these power relations are in society as well as inside the movement. Right? There are dominant actors in the movement and marginal actors in the movement, and there are marginalized actors in the movement as well as in the society. So look at that and make it better. At any given moment, anything that we are doing is supposed to deliver that. And as much as it delivers that, that it's a breakthrough, I guess. We did a bunch of such things. And I guess, yeah, some of them were more, let's say, theoretical intervention in terms of like, it's a global, the Climate Jobs campaign did that with a shift from there is no planet B to actually there's a way of keeping this planet A or whatever. Recently we have been doing something that is tangentially related to what I said before about we really have to win the climate argument as is, because we did win the climate change argument, like all of us. We didn't win the climate crisis argument, right? And we are aware of this, because even the way we are, even our body language currently, my body language included, tells that we are not in a crisis, right? So we didn't win that argument, even with ourselves. So that is the next step, and I think one of the interesting things that happened in the movement recently, in the last couple of years, is to push that boundary and say, this is not normal. And I think that was really, really interesting, and I think it really changed a lot of the argument of what is interesting, what is that. what is valuable and what is not valuable, and what is normal, what is not normal. Because I think it's much easier when you throw a paint on a Van Gogh painting to then afterwards, 2 years later when Palestine action is criminalized, that everyone comes on board saying that we are all Palestine action. Because the terms of the conversation was changed already. Right? So there's this way of like, what is business as usual, and what is acceptable there, and how are we supposed to respond to it emotionally. And I think that is the kind of interesting thing that happened in the UK, actually, in the UK context. So this is something I can say, which is, we need to win the climate argument, and this will imply intervening at the cultural level, in the sense of like the society reproducing itself, right? Because we are all reproducing capitalism, we are all reproducing fossil capital, through culture, not through direct productive labor, but through our processes, we are normalizing it. And I think that will still have to be done.
So what would have to be done to win the climate action, climate emergency argument?
Yeah, in the general public, not in policy level, nor in the strategic production level, but in actual daily life level, there has to be some shift in our organizations, in other organizations, as well as in general society of how we perceive the state in which we are. That work still needs to be done. I think it was partly done in the last couple of years. I think that really changed the terms of the conversation for much better. Now we have more openings and more opportunities. So that's one example that we do.
Okay, thank you. Nicolas, I know, like you said, you have a lot of experience in building community-based energy and housing alternatives. And I was wondering, when we think about the role of cooperativism, the cooperative movement grew as a kind of third way, like an alternative to capitalism and also socialism. But what do you think, based on your experience and your strategic view, what is the political role of it today?
Yeah, I really enjoyed this question because I think the situation, at least in Czech Republic, is now way different than it used to be in the beginning of the cooperativist ideas. I think, in some way, it is similar because when you look at, for example, Rockdale's pioneers in the UK in 1840 something, they started their cooperative because of need, because there were layoffs, there was a lot of poverty, and people got together to get the investment to purchase goods, food, to be then delivered to the shareholders of the cooperative. No? And so the situation in Czech Republic right now, politically, is that left is totally decimated. No, there's no relevant political party. Unfortunately, there even was a proposal to ban, to criminalize communism in a way, in a similar way to fascism. I left 2 holidays, so I do not know if it passed or not. So if there will be folks from Graz, maybe I will get to jail when I come back. No, it's a joke. What I wanted to say is that I would say that there are now 2 big political streams. Both are on the right. One is let's say liberal, global capital, cosmopolitan right, and the other is old-fashioned, authoritarian, fossil in a way. In Czech Republic, definitely connected to coal mining, fascist, big sort of. So, and if you do not want to play either or, you have to find your own way. Somehow, I would say the strategy of cooperatives in the housing sector, of those shared houses, is sort of, I'm 35 years old. I was too young to experience the wave of privatization in the 90s. But since COVID, the real estate prices skyrocketed. the housing is super scarce, super expensive. And during the time it said like, okay, we missed the privatization opportunity, but if we do not buy any property now, it will be really difficult to do it anytime further. So that's why we gathered we did not have the bank loans, we just collected money that were just enough to buy a house in the tourist region of the country, and this is where we are now. We are like a root in the pavement, you know. But now we are 3 years there, so longer than 90% of startups. But and it will be very hard to weed us out of the pavement because we own the property, and this gives us a foot in the door, so we can expand further in the terms of energy. To live in the house allows us to organize with our friends and neighbors from the town, and also, yeah, basically focus on the basic needs. I think this is what prevails from the original time of cooperativism towards nowadays, because this is what, yeah, it's a fight for survival in a way, how I see it. You know? Yeah.
And it's also becoming an alternative, but with the fight for survival. But I mean, it can be looked upon as a good example of fighting for a more just, climate just world. If we go now to Flavia, you kind of already answered my first question, but let's get to it again if you want to say something more. You were talking about the layoffs and factory closure and how it evolved into kind of something bigger, something better. But what do you think is what do you think the factory represents today? And is it just a physical space? Is it something more? And maybe if you connect it to the climate struggle or climate movement, can it be like a good example of what we can do in the climate movement part?
Sure. So first of all, we have to say that the workers in the GKN factory had a very strong organization during the work times. So before 2021, they had already built the Cortile Fabrica, and they had a very branched out organization inside the factory with union representatives, the RSU, the so-called RSU in Italy, who were all in constant contact with each production unit delegate. So there was this very branched out organization among the workers, which allowed them to be very united at the beginning, since the beginning, since the layoffs, and it has, of course, been a very important part in this fight, and a very important starting point. After which, the workers, of course, sealed many alliances with the climate movement and the social movement in general. I think that first of all it was the social movements, and in fact all the people in Florence, many different people from many different environments, both from the church and from the cooperatives, from the associations of the territory. Something that was very important in this process was building an imagery. So the workers appealed to the fact that the former Fiat, which was the GPM before 1994, was a very big factory in Florence. Many people worked there, and many people felt they had to defend these workplaces because they are workplaces of the territory. And then they developed very quickly and many alliances with the social movements and especially climate movements. So since the layoffs, workers started fighting the layoffs, trying to production and regain their workplaces. In fact, the layoffs were declared illegitimate by the tribunal in September 2021, but the work did not restart. So layoffs for one, but were fought, were eliminated, but the work did not restart. And it's at that point that the workers' collective started to build alliances with the climate movements and with solidaristic researchers who developed an industrial plan for the factory, for the plant, in order to restart production, shifting from private cars and private automotives to first of all, to a more ecological way of transport, so public transport. The plant would have had all the necessary to build parts for electric buses, for example, and then being complicated without public investment. The production reconversion plan shifted towards solar panels and cargo bikes, which where cargo bikes are already being built with like a laboratory for now, until we can restart with the cooperative. It was the climate movements that helped the workers to develop this plan, this industrial plan, and to shift it towards a true ecological transition. This period has been a period in which many of the politicians, many of the political world talked a lot about industrial conversion and ecological transition, but in fact there has been no actual public investment towards this decision. Workers tried to redirect these public investments towards a true ecological transition from below. For now, we're still waiting that an actual public investment happens. So what the workers are guarding now is not just the big plant, which is a very big plant. It's almost 80,000 square meters with both the open and closed part. But the fact of guarding the plant is both a guarantee for the workers to regain what they're due in terms of wages, of past wages, and a way to give an alternative to any delocalization in Europe, in the sense that if our worker is laid off for delocalization, there has to be an alternative, and this alternative may come from below, and it may restart production in an ecological way, in an ecological sense, and in the sense that guards the social and climate justice in order to restart production in a sense in which all the people may be maybe helped and guarded from this kind of labor. I don't know if you meant this with this question and sort of there.
Thanks. And we had a part of Simon's presentation was about working with the climate movement, working with workers and trade unions and rank and file workers. And I don't know if you know anything about this, Flavia, but I wanted to ask you if you can tell us a bit about the relation between the official trade unions and maybe the Colectivo de Fábrica, the rank and file workers that were actually sacked. Was there any support from the official unions, or were they against the taking over of the factory?
Well, to be honest, workers were all part of we're all taking part in the biggest metalworking union in Italy, which is FIOM. So they were active in the union, but in fact the help and the solidarity that came, especially at the beginning, did not allow them to restart production. Of course, it has been supportive. The union has been supportive, but it didn't do enough to restore production. It was mainly the workers themselves, together with their allied social movements, and that we were able to start with a new industrial plan. Not meaning that it hasn't been important that the two sides were aligned, but in fact it was more the self-organization of the workers than the bigger union that helped towards this kind of new industrial plan.
Okay, thanks. Let's go to the part about what does a successful strategy mean, and maybe we go to Mikuláš. I wanted to ask you about how do you think, how do you understand a successful strategy? Do you think when does a cooperative initiative go beyond its own reproduction and maybe begin to act as a political strategy? And what are the indicators that this is a successful strategy?
Yeah, so I was making some notes. How do we think of that our project of grassroots community energy initiative, and yeah, we think of it as a pilot that would allow us to test the existing support structures of like public subsidies and legal framework, whether it's accessible for communities like ours, where there are people vulnerable to energy poverty, but also women are involved in leading position or decision-making positions and so on. Because currently, like when we look at the community energy in Czech Republic, already for a year, it is possible to share your PV production with a group of people, but so far there are not so many data about how does this sharing look like. But from let's say expert estimation, it is the easiest for the folks who already own their own house, their own roof. They do have savings for the installations, and the sharing of electricity is just like an extra. It's something like when you have models of the train, no? And you are doing that just for fun. And yeah, so for us it would be it is mostly interesting to create such a model that would allow people to gather the necessary resources for the installation, then collectively own it, and then from the savings they could pay back the either the direct loans, or they can invest and decide further. And one step is if such a model is replicable, then the other stage would be whether there is an access to the public subsidies or to the money we need, because unfortunately still money talks. And another important part would be the scale of the project. That if it actually if there would be only like a small PV installation that helps only like one family, it's probably not enough for the other families to lower down their energy bills and so on. And basically you will need to scale up, for scaling up, it would be also beneficial if there would be also like public involvement, either from municipalities or from other actors that are not like commercially own, and there is already, like on a municipal level, there is a lot of happening nowadays in the Czech Republic, but let's say like public commons partnership, there are still ways to be opened, and I think it is definitely necessary to open them to become successful. And also, in order to become more resilient to external shocks that might happen during the upcoming period and so on. And yeah, I would end probably here. Yeah, best would be also if there would be some way of exchange of goods or services outside of the, let's say, capitalist circulation. So if in our case, what I'm experiencing now, that I'm now living in the community, in the house owned by a cooperative that is involved as a household in other network, in the network of other households with the, within the community energy, but also there is another network of community supported agriculture that is meeting at our place. There is also like neighborhood meetings, and once there is possible to establish such a scale of circulation of goods without necessarily exchanging them on the financial market, that will be the ideal. But we are not yet there. But there might be discussion of soon, like what are the successful examples now.
Thanks, yeah, that was actually the question, yeah, what the kind of end goal would be or what the next steps would be. And it's also interesting from the point of view because we talked, Sina talked about decommodification and democratization in a way, and it's kind of, in a way, if you look at it, you give the people their means of production of energy, of even food, of housing, so it's really moving into that eco-socialist.
And if I may, I mean, we are not giving people anything, people have to take it themselves, no? I mean,
yeah, exactly, yeah, thanks for correcting me. Sina, what do you think, looking back at your work and Maximus' work, you were talking about all of the different initiatives, all the different actions and activities that you had. Do you have an idea of what would be a successful strategy for you? What counts as what I called as genuine breakthrough?
So there's an expression in Portuguese that says "it depends." Then that's the entire answer. So they don't tell you what it depends on how answer. I'm not going to do that. But it is context dependent, right? So I think the way we look at it is that a strategy is meaningful if and only if it provides you with a leap. And this leap is supposed to happen in at least 3 to 4 levels. One is that the current situation, so there has to be a society leap, so the way the society operates by the end of the strategy, the power relations have to have changed for whatever side you are fighting for. Right? So societal level. Then there is the movement level, which means in the movement itself, if your strategy gives more power to the, what was it called, subaltern, so there are many ways of saying this, but like the masses of the class, if it changes the configuration, and so basically, if the movement itself becomes stronger and more radical, again, going to the roots. So that's a good strategy, if it's also establishing that. So societal movement level and organization level, if your organization itself learns something, which means you have to be monitoring everything that you do with a critical eye, and you have to have clear objectives before you start that are observable, so you can check at the end. So if it gives you a leap in that level, if you actually learn something substantial from it, then it's a good strategy. And these are supposed to happen at the same time. And some people would also use interpersonal level in this, which some people will call active solidarity. So basically, if we are, as a group of people that have relationships in the organization, if we have a more collective identity through this process, if we dismantle some of the systems of oppressions that we are reproducing through this strategy, which means we become more aware of the larger struggle. So I think any good strategy, so basically I'm not telling you which one would be the good strategy because I don't know where you live and exactly what you can do, but it's supposed to do leaps, it's supposed to provide you with a leap in societal level, in the movement level, in the organizational level, and in the interpersonal level. And it has to be a leap, it's not incremental, huh? So this is why I keep on saying leap. I think this is
Great, thanks. You could have said at the beginning that it's complicated, and then stop there. What about you, Flavia? What do you think would make your struggle successful? What would be a success in your case? Is it like you already told us about restarting production, but is there anything else that you have to add here, or maybe have any ideas other than that?
So, of course, since the beginning, the objective has been, and will always be, the fact to regain these 500 workplaces for the community in the campus center and for the whole workers community in general. However, at the beginning, this was the only objective. After September 2021, when the collective layoffs were declared illegitimate by the tribunal, by the legal tribunal in Florence, we realized that even if these layoffs were declared illegitimate, work would not restart. And that's when the idea came to align with the climate movement and with the solidaristic researchers in order to fight localization, but fight it in a sense in which we can shift the production towards ecologically compatible production. So this fight has become from a fight against localization, a fight against, first of all, real estate speculation, because that's what the factory, the actual plant has been living, and a fight for work, but also a fight for climate justice. So the strategic breakthrough would be to restart production in the factory in order to be a positive example for other cases of delocalization, other cases of collective layoffs. And another important fact is the ability to be able to define what to produce and to make decisions in the factory, and the fact of forcing the public to intervene in the factory in order to restart production with the public consortium, in which the cooperative would be one of the actors but not the only one. And the fact of being allied with the social movement and with the climate movement also allowed us to open this equity crowdfunding campaign, in which it's still possible to intervene, in order to have a big assembly of people who are part of the cooperative, who can make decisions together with us, and in any way contribute to the decision making of the factory, and changing the way we think of production and the way we think of a factory. In fact, transform this factory into a public and socially useful factory. The aim is to produce environmentally friendly photovoltaic systems, batteries, and cargo bikes, and we're still open to the people who want to take part in the factory and contribute to the equity of the factory with this crowdfunding campaign, and contribute to the decision making. So, in fact, we still don't know if, of course, this fight has been an example for many, and but the fact is we want to be a positive example. So we want to restart. We're still holding on to the fact that the cooperative might restart, and we're very close to restarting production with the industrial consortium, so with the public taking part in it. And but still we don't know if it will be possible and how it's going, what this new news about the tribunal would decide to evict the factory, how this will impact on the cooperative, on how we will go on against after the summer.
How much money do you need to restart production?
How much?
Did you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
How much money do you need to, how much money are you gathering together for the crowdfunding?
Yeah, we're gathering 2 million euros. We have more than 1 million now. You can find all the information on the website insurgiamo.org. So, yeah, it's a very ambitious plan, but we're not that far from it.
That's good to hear. We're gonna share with everyone the link to the website, and hopefully someone will contribute as well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And we're waiting for you on the 11th and 12th of July in Florence if you want. We're celebrating the 4th anniversary of the fight.
Actually, some colleagues and I were thinking about going, but we'll see. Hopefully, we'll make it, and anyone else from here makes it. Yeah, let's go forward and look in the future, and the strategies going forward. And this is a question for all of you, so we're going to take turns. But essentially, I was wondering what follows after the first win, the first breakthrough, and how to shape the strategy after it, and how to shape it essentially that it does not remain trapped in this initial moment of just either survival or first goal, but it goes beyond. It reaches like a leap, like you said, Simon. And maybe if you have any concrete examples of to include in the processes of like shaping the strategic approaches. I know, Sinan, you have a bit of experience with these workshops, and you're going to do one on Friday as well with all of us, or who's going to join. But yeah, that's the two questions, and maybe Flavia, if you want to open up.
Okay, this is of course very complicated for us because, well, the first breakthrough is far from being reached. However, I think that in order to not remain trapped in this first initial moment, we will need to keep on talking about this, to keep on building alliances with other workplaces, with other worker struggles, in order to not be the only one, the only factory, or the only socially public and socially integrated factory, but be the first of many, in order to build an example and to become an actual way of production. So a way of production in which it's the workers who decide what to produce and how to produce it. And we know that it's the only way to be able to shift the production towards an ecologically compatible way, because we, the workers, are the ones who want to live in a fair world and in a not but in a clean environment. And yeah, the good mechanisms are to build alliances with other workers' organizations and with other work struggle. It's not easy because each specific worker struggle has different specifics, and in addition there are very different kinds of contracts, and while the GKN factory was very old style and last century struggle, let's say, so with a big factory with many workers. It's more complicated now with many different contracts and many different ways of working, but it's still possible to organize. We're still building alliances with the Sud Covas in Prato, still near Florence, which is a union organizing workers from many different places in the world. They are usually migrants, usually very exploited migrants, and they have very different working conditions with respect to the GKN workers, but this has been a very fruitful alliance, and I hope it will bring many success to them too.
Great, thanks. Do you want to answer the question as well? Yeah. Which one of you wants to go first?
Yeah, okay, I'm going to just say two things. One, it depends on what you want to deliver, right? What is the task that you're going to achieve? And if you start from the assumption of the previous session of dismantling capitalism in the short term, then you can't do it alone. You can do it in a community. You cannot do it in your organization. You cannot do it in your movement. You have to be you have to think bigger. I mean, you have to see yourself in a bigger frame, right? Always. So that already situates us in terms of what am I supposed to take into consideration? In terms of like, what am I actually monitoring, right? So that's one thing. The second thing I want to say related to this, there is a lot of, I think it's the best thing I read from the management people, is the distinction between delivering activities versus delivering results. There is a lot of NGOization in what's called social movements, where people are delivering activity, right? So they give you this annual report, and then the annual report is a list of events, and not really like those are results, right? So it's a way of cheating. It's a way of cheating yourself. So we are coming up with this idea. We're playing with this idea. I think once it is actually we grasp it, it's going to be nice. So there's this thing of smart objectives. You heard of this? So they are supposed to be specific and realistic and blah blah. Smart objectives. This comes directly from a business. They are useful, and we want to come up with something against it. I mean, in contrast to it, which we will call something like poetic objectives, something like completely unsmart. And it's about having those objectives as well. And these are, so what do I mean? I mean prophetic objectives, as in objectives that give you a new vision, making new things possible in your head. Right? If I do this series of activities, by the end of it, the imagery will change. Right? To some extent. It might be limited, but like looking at it this way. Or transformative, as I was saying. I can imagine the transformation in the movement level and so on, and these still can be measurable or observable. They might not be quantifiable necessarily, which is a different conversation. You might not be able to put numbers with, but you might still argue that this happened or didn't happen. So this is the kind of like general anchoring to the larger picture and projecting specific objectives or specific activities in terms of what it is supposed to deliver. One thing we did, it was really interesting, is that we launched a campaign cycle, and it was about, I don't remember, it was about aviation. We measured in the beginning and in the end how safe women felt in the organization. And the measurement is, we just asked, women asked to themselves in the beginning and in the end, because the entire process was supposed to be deconstructing patriarchy that we had in the organization. So it's a matter of like taking power from me. So we try to measure this, and this had nothing to do with aviation, of course, right? Like from a topical perspective, what we said, no, this is something that has to happen now. We want to measure it now, and we want to see it at the end. So you can think of it things like this. You can think of it things like a bit larger scale, like media responses or general intuition by other organization leaders, but other movement leaders, how are they reacting to certain situations and so on. And you can also measure these things from a beginning point to an end point, and I think this kind of transformative perspectives, always embedded in the very concrete deliverables, I think is a good angle in general. I think I found this very useful, and it's kind of pushing us away from NGO logic and pulling us back to real life. This is what I think.
I would be this regard. I think it's important, like once you achieve something, to somehow have the foot in the door, and try to create something that it's harder to reverse what you started, no? So, for example, with this shared houses initiative, we have an instrument that there is a veto of this umbrella organization in every particular project when it comes to the question of selling it again to the market. So it blocks the ability basically to speculate with the property. So I think this is one thing. Another thing that might work is really to involve the municipality in a way that once your favorite mayor loses the elections, the new mayor who will be your enemy has to continue with the projects. And in that regard, the investments and debts, I think they work quite well in this. So once you are in the government or municipal government, get in debt as much as you can. So the others, after you have to continue with what you started. And yeah, but also I think the idea is to try to create some events when there is that exercise some pressure, and whether on those action tests you can see whether your majority, social majority works, and you build up, or people start to disappear and leave the boat and so on. And I think this is this is quite healthy exercise, you can see it, for example, when supporting some causes that might not be easy to support publicly, be it Gaza or be it LGBT rights nowadays, or not even like publicly, but in practice now to find the tangible supports for those groups that they need it when they need it. I think this is the task.
Okay, great, thanks. Let's take some questions from the audience now. We have some time left, I think 15 minutes for questions. And I'm going to ask my colleague Boštjan to help me. Here. Take the microphones. So, questions? Anybody? Thanks. You know, Boštjan has a question. He always has a question, but let's give it.
I have a question for Flavia, okay? Do you hear me? So now there is a new collectivity being established, the cooperative, and trying to connect to the local government, and the alliance, of the necessity with the ecological and social movements. But the problem, as you said, and we were talking before Lorenzo, is now the property, right? Do you have a plan to find another property if this collective gets evacuated? Or is this something that it is so important for you to hold on this property? Or is it the idea to find an alternative? What is the situation regarding the space?
So you mean why the property of the plant is so important?
Yes, and if with the new judicial decision, is there an idea to maybe try to get, like Mikko was explaining, like another physical space to organize the production in the same manner that it's planned now?
So, in fact, for now there is no plan to change, to reorganize production in another site. It's one of the ways to fight the real estate speculation that has been going on, and we are trying to find a way to really have to reel the establishment, the establishment. First of all, because well, it's very complicated. It's a very complicated story, but there have been changes in the value of the establishment before the collective layoff and after the collective layoff. So first, in the in this yeah in the properties of the factory, it's the value of the establishment was 2 million euros. At some point, it became 20 million euros, and then it became 7 million euros after the collective layoff. So this has been very strange, and it's a proof of the fact that this collective layoff is probably just a reason just due to real estate speculation, and probably they would like to build a hub for delivery in the factory. And for now, we're just trying to restart there with the investment from the public institutions. I mean, not from the state, but from the regional and local administrations. Of course, it would be a second possibility, a plan B, to restart production with the same number of workers, but it would be kind of a defeat for the fact that we're leaving this very big plant, very big area to real estate speculation.
Thank you.
I have a question, but also I think I understood the speakers about the possibilities or encouragement of taking risks. I'm sure you are aware that the next climate action is in Brazil, I believe. There is the People Summit, and there is a lot of momentum building up. So I know the question I'm about to ask is difficult because I'm inspired by trying to find an indicator of success and trying to be realistic at the same time. So what potential do you think, or maybe what is realistic in terms of movement building and what kind of success it could bring in Brazil? That's the question. I'm just curious to know, because there's a lot of trade unions, faith-based organization, indigenous people, everybody will be gathered around, and there's this high expectation that maybe Brazil could be the place that gives us a leap or whatever it might be. So I'm just curious to hear your opinion on that as well. The second question is about the challenge of finding many positive solutions. It's unfortunate that there are some positive and successful solutions out there that many people don't hear about, or they don't have access to that. And I believe one of the factors of getting that power shift or that leap is when we get more and more of those good stories. So what do you think, I don't know how to ask this question, but there are many reasons why it's not even easy to find many of these good examples. So how do you think we can sustain the momentum even in the context where there are very few good examples? Thank you.
Who wants to answer? Nobody? Flavia? You talked about maybe Nico, you go ahead.
Regarding the People Summit in Brazil, like from my point of view, like given I cannot imagine myself going there and being beneficial to my cause in my neighborhood. I mean, from the part of the movement where I am from, there is this resentment against counter summits to COP, UN, United Nations COP summits on climate, because it doesn't, given the repression and surveillance, you cannot even block it from happening, and not to mention that it's unimaginable to exercise pressure for a good accord or document. But I can imagine that for people who are organizing the People Summit, that it makes sense very much. And from the experience I have, for the local organizers, it might be empowering to bring people together, create some ground for fertile discussions or even tangible cooperations after the summit. And I think this is what matters. Sometimes it does not need to be measurable, but in the future there might appear a moment when such, ties and friendships would materialize into something tangible. So I wouldn't judge. I encourage people to work on the summit. That's great, but me personally, I cannot see myself being engaged in that it would bring anything to the other people or community. And the other questions, I totally agree. In Czech Republic, there is, I think, 12% of people living in energy poverty. Similar amount of people are in the housing crisis. And in our network of shared houses, there are 2 houses where there is dozens of people. It's nothing. When you look at the energy poverty and the amount of shared electricity in over a year, it does not it does not create yet results to solve the energy poverty. On the other, what you can hear quite often is that for the folks who already have their own PV panels and community energy in their first and second house and their family relatives, it might be more beneficial to buy an electric car than, it basically, in a way, how it is now, it would benefit those people who already benefit enough, no? And this is it's hard to find a way how to basically transfer the benefits to those who need it. And I think right now we see a lot of very pioneering projects. What Flavia is presenting is super exciting. Biome factory in Greece, close to Thessaloniki, is also a gorgeous example. I think maybe there are some other examples we should learn from more, like Preston in Britain. There is a municipal economic initiative in housing a lot. Or I know very little about it, but I would love to learn more. Maybe there is somebody who knows way more about Kerala in India, where there is also a lot of cooperatives, and it's actually a large share of the economy, as far as I understood, in the region. No? So maybe we are, or me personally, I'm also way more focused on what is happening in the very neighboring countries and regions, and maybe the way could be to look out more further to other countries and areas where there are some more examples to learn from.
Sorry, which web were you using?
Vilme, I think it's called. No? It's for ecological detergents. In Greece.
Flavia, do you have anything to say as well?
We had the opportunity to talk to some representatives from Biome in Greece, so it was a very fruitful experience for, of course, production recognition and through a cooperative in a very similar way to GKN. And I agree with you with the fact that it's very hard to be projected to this very international project and kind of meeting in a moment in which you have to be concentrated in your neighborhood and in your current struggle. But of course, I think it would be very interesting to take part and to exchange experiences with, of course, many different experiences that might have been around the world. Especially probably in Argentina, where the movement of reconverted factories has been very strong and productive. Yeah, actually, it's of course very complicated, but it's a way to be connected to a broader view and to different experiences that might be very useful for exchanging experiences and suggestions, just as we're doing right now at this panel, but in a very broader sense.
So, this is about strategy, right? So I'm just going to try to stick to that. No, you know. Climate Summit. Okay, so about Climate Summit, because it's happening in Brazil, and Brazil, like from Portugal, it's easy to follow for horrible reasons. So I guess two interesting things are happening around that landscape. One is that our Brazilian comrades have to make some tough decisions about Lula. Which Lula is this and how do they relate to this particular Lula? And they are hesitating in making that decision, and I think they are struggling. I mean, the report that we are getting is that they are really struggling to make a clear decision about what they think. At the same time as that is happening, BRICS, so Brazil, Russia, South Africa, India, South Africa, BRICS have to make some tough decisions about US dollars. So how do they want to make trade among themselves, what does it look like, and so on. And they didn't make that decision, which is making life very difficult for them, which makes a lot of problems for Lula, which then creates a lot of problems for people who live in the Amazon. So there will be a People Summit. I'm also aware of two more initiatives. There's an eco-socialist network that will hold another conference. There is another network around Pablo Solon that will do some other gatherings at the same time. So, I mean, I am myself in paying attention to all of this. It's ambiguous. It's not very clear where it goes. So, but there is something curious in this one as opposed to the previous few ones. So it's not like in Paris. So it's not like neoliberal consensus. They will declare victory. Everybody will be like cheering. I mean, inside that room. It's not like that. It's not that clear. It's also not as clear as in like Egyptian dictatorship. Nobody's allowed. It's a bit mixed. So they are still trying to save face. Although, where it will happen, Belém, is in the middle of nowhere. It's not at all, like in Brazil, it's not at all accessible to Brazilian people. They pushed it up north where like the masses are not there, the social movements, the social movements that you might have seen on television, they are not there. So it's also strange. So what will I do? I think I will just do two things that I will do in any case, which kind of relates to what you were saying. So I'm going to go and meet some people that otherwise I couldn't meet. Because typically either myself or these other people cannot travel and meet up because of the costs and there's no way of arranging these things, particularly for self-funded environments. And And second, I'm just going to go and strengthen my relationships with the existing allies in Latin America. I think these are the two interesting things that it provides that have absolutely nothing to do with climate or the summit, right? These two things that I just said. But somehow they are still useful. So more strategically, what I am looking at, rather than COP nowadays, is quite interesting stuff is happening in Colombia and in Mexico, at the grassroots level as well as at the governmental level. A lot of interesting things are happening in Sri Lanka, and also very interesting stuff is happening in West Africa. These are really curious because, of course, they are full of contradictions like anything else, but they have a lot of generative contradictions, as opposed to a bunch of contradictions that we have in Europe that are degenerative. So I'm looking at these places, like we as a movement organizers, we are looking at these places to see, yeah, what's going on, what can we learn from it. I think this is like, from a strategic viewpoint, these are the places that we're looking at to learn from as outsiders, like learn actually by observing. And like engaging with these dynamics are much more interesting to me at this point than a climate summit organized by in North Pacific.
Okay, great, thanks. I think there are some great answers. I think we have to wrap the panel discussion up because we also have to go to the coffee break. Thanks to all of you that contributed to the debate, and yeah, we'll see you later.